Hello everybody, we're starting the stream in a bit. I'll probably chop off the first part just so I can get it started. So hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our JIRA work, SAK-48745 in Sakai. So let me go ahead and show you what we are working on. Let me get my split screen up the right way. So there we are in the split screen. So welcome. This is I'm working on Sakai, open source learning management system that is great for learning and great for protecting your data. www.learnerprivacy.org. Do I got that right? No, I can't even stop learner privacy. Should have this ready. So this is my podcast about learner privacy, and I haven't updated in a while, but I have a lot of great lectures on this podcast about the things that bother me about cloud-hosted learning management systems and why it is that you should take more control of your students' data. But enough about that. Let's talk about the thing that we're doing. I'm working on implementing a new standard. That's an LTI standard, which is the course group service or context group service. It'd probably be better named context group service, and it's 5 years old. It was really built by it's a very elegant spec. Martin Leonard and Eric Preston were, I think, the people that did the most work in this. They built the first implementation, and that's really important. And so up to now, we have been building inside Sakai. Part 1, which you can go back and take a look at, we made it so that Sakai would launch. Let me go ahead and get Sakai started. Bash start. While I'm talking, bash start. Okay, bash tail. So I'm starting Sakai. Okay, so we're starting Sakai. That'll kind of take a little while to come up, and so we'll launch Sakai when that comes up. But basically, we've done a whole bunch of things. We have made it so that this claim is now added to the LTI message, launch message. We've got all that. We built some code. We built a Java object for this claim. We built a unit test for this claim. We played with ChatGPT to help us build those unit tests. And then there is a URL, which is this. In this case, it's the context groups URL. And then there is, and I put in some sort of, if I do a get diff of what we're working on right now. Oops, not DFF. We put in some code in the servlet that does the LTI web service responses, and added a endpoint for group service. Oh wait, that's a typo. I gotta fix that. So let's go grab this file right here. Let's grab this file, and there's that comment is wrong. So let's take a look at group. This is not names and roles. This is group service. There we go. So get the course groups first site. We made an endpoint. We made some stub code that is sort of going to handle that when we hit that call. So we pass that to the tool. We make some stub code, and then the other thing that we did, get status, is we sort of put code in that we didn't really test in this access token, and we'll see how this all works in a minute. So if I go group, the scope that it's going to ask for, so how OAuth 2 works is a tool wants to get a credential to access an API, so it has to get what's called an access token, and it has to request which scopes it wants in that access token. And so we made it so that I could give them back an access token. A context group read-only access token. So I added this code right here that basically says if the requested scope is a context group read-only and Sakai's internal configuration allows them to view the roster, then I'm going to make an access token which I'll hand back to the tool that is signed, and then I verify the signature. That is my way of knowing that this token is allowed to access this endpoint, and so that's where it not there. Well, and at some point, let me go find where it's all in this one file. So this is the handle the group service where I'll hit a URL. It's coming in here, and so I'm going to check the Sakai access token that I gave to the tool, but then on this request the tool gave back to me, and if that token is check the signature and all that stuff, it's using PKI to check signatures, etc. If it's got the token, we're going to give it the data. Now it's going to take a lot of code to get the data. So I've got all these like stubbed out endpoints in Sakai. So if I think Sakai has come up since we were talking, yes. So let's go ahead and just start Sakai. This is my dev localhost, and I'm working on SAK-48745. Let's unpin that one so I know which one I'm working on. And in lessons, I put this link, and this is an LMS test tool. Actually, today, this second stream, I'm working on the LMS test tool. So when I launch it, this is a tool that I've written, and we're going to be looking at this next. And it's just a great way to debug everything that that you can do in LTI Advantage. And I'm going to add a new link right here to test the context groups. We'll add a groups link there pretty soon. So this is all PHP. It uses my Tsugi.org. So I have this Tsugi library and hosting environment and learning object repository. It's my like magic little gadget. And so this data in this iframe is coming from PHP, and we can look at the launch data and we can see that there is the claim, the group service claim, and we have this URL that is the URL you hit to talk to the group service. Now you're supposed to hit this URL with an access token, and we are certainly not going to hit it with an access token yet. This is just a naked GET request, and so this is going to blow up badly, but you'll see. We'll see. It's going to find its way into that servlet code. There we go. And that's the site ID, context ID. Boom. Invalid authorization. Invalid authorization, null. And so it's in this code. It's got to this point. It's checked to see if there is an access token. And if there is no access token, because that was a GET. The access token is a parameter you set along with the GET. And we have to have the tool get the access token, and then the tool hit this URL endpoint. So we've got it stubbed out a lot in Sakai. We still have a ton of work to do. We're not returning any data yet, but we're doing all this. We're doing the security checks, and it's dying in the security checks. So for me, I'm going to leave Sakai alone for the next hour or so, and I'm going to start writing the code in this tool. Okay, so I think this is, let's just go see. So I'm going to add a new tab here. So this is PHP code, and I think I have this running in my Python for Everybody local copy of my course site for Python for Everybody. It's in Tsugi, cd mod, and cd LMSTest. There we are. So this is that code. So if I look at index.php, let's see what index.php looks like. And now we're switching to PHP. And this is my Tsugi library that I built. And so let's go see what the tabs are, that the output. Okay, so here we go. Tsugi post data. Okay, that is, those tabs are these guys. That's home. And then is result. Tabs, home, result. Where am I at here? Where's my, where does the word result show up in this code? Grep result star. Oh, it's in the nav file. Okay, nav.php. Nav.php. So we're going to say names and roles, and then we're going to go here. We're going to say groups. Groups.php. PHP is fun, so now I can just hit reload. Look at that! Boom, not found. Of course, groups.php was not found, but let's start with grabbing roster.php, copy roster.php, and make it be groups.php. So now, if I hit refresh, when I type groups, this is going to do the same thing as rosters, NRPS, names and roles, okay? And so this is just making calls, and this is the debug log, and so this is all the code that's in this new groups, vi groups.php. So let's just, this must be groups. This is to do we'll see if we do, well, yeah, we'll make some stuff. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to call, so now this LTI is an object. The context is an object. This is Tsugi's framework, right? And in the LTI context, there is a method called names and roles. Okay, load names and roles. And that looks like a lot of stuff that's gonna, so what's the name of this damn specification again? Load names and roles. We're just gonna call it load groups. I hate this. I mean, I ranted a lot in the previous video, and I'm gonna try not to rant in the inconsistency of our naming conventions here. So we've got to go into this object and add a new method called, we're going to say load groups. We're just going to call that load groups. So let's do that. That is in a Tsugi folder, and let's find out minus name context.php. I think that's the name of this object. No. Context. There we go. It's in this file right here. And let's look for load names. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that'll be loading the roster if we get it from, and we're going to come back to this code here. But we're going to start by copying this. Oops. Y code A. And now, okay, so load the groups. I don't know if we have, I don't think we have any parameters. It returns the groups object. We don't have that thing yet. If it fails, it returns. Okay, so we're going to call this fella groups, load groups. We're going to take this parameter out. So this this load LTI13 data has to do with getting the public and private keys for the tool in the proper place, and what our token URL is, the one we got to go get, because we got to talk to the token URL of the LMS. So I don't think I need to play with this too much, but I do need to find this group URL instead of the membership URL, and I think that I'm going to name it. I get to name it. I think it's going to be this context group URL. And we're going to do this. Now we got to put this parameter in, because this LTI parameter, we're going to have to go in deeper in so we can pull it out of the claim, because it's in the claim, and then we're going to put it in these LTI parameters, but we'll figure this out. Why is it empty? Oh, because this isn't, we're making an error message. And if the LTI COntext Groups URL is missing, then we're going to complain that we never got. So this is an error message that if the claim is not there, this load will not work, and it returns an error message. This is kind of the kind of stuff I do in PHP, where I'm even returning an object or returning a string, and this is like the complaining. And to see if is string missing, return missing. So now this is me checking to see if context groups URL came from the claim. Okay, so we're not going to do this. We're going to do a groups access token. We're going to have to write some code here. That's okay. We're just going to do this. We need to get that access token. Groups access token. Get groups token. It's going to blow up badly because none of this is there. Groups token. But groups access token. Groups data could not be retrieved in the debug log, and then we return, and then we're gonna load the groups. We're like calling a bunch of library routines that don't even exist. So what is it that doesn't exist yet? Get groups token doesn't exist, and this is in the LTI 13 object. And so let's take a look at that. So I also have some low-level code in low-level. There's Tsugi stuff that has data models, and then there's like pure LTI stuff. And this source util. So you'll notice that this is in core. Core is my Tsugi libraries that are kind of at the next level up. They add the lowest level, which is like has nothing to do with Tsugi, could be used in any PHP application, are these source util LTI13.php. So the key here is much like in Sakai, you see me having some Java code that is in the Sakai and some Java code that could be used in any Java application. And so now this is the general purpose LTI class with no Tsugi specific dependencies. And I use it in a core LTI Tsugi class that, yeah, microphone's working. Core LTI class that, so we're working on get groups token, but that was get NRPS. Get NRPS. NRPS token. Okay. So we are going to retrieve, we're going to make, let's put this down further. So we're going to do a, is it group service or group service? What we name it? Group, course group service. Okay, so we're going to do a get groups token. So there's a lot of low-level stuff I've already got written. Groups, get groups token. All that stuff is good stuff. And here's where we go into, I think it's read only. Will get me to where I want to do. So that's the scope. Let's find it. This one here is the scope I want. So I am then, this is basically calling Sakai. It knows all these URLs and the key sets, and that's all in lower level code that we do not have to worry about. So I am looking for, I would like to get this access token. And I'm going to get, we'll call this, I'm going to call this groups. That's pretty good. So this is the get groups token. Where's my groups.php? So this is, where am I? I'm in the groups, right? Okay, so I just need to change this to be load groups, and that, and I'm going to go, there is no parameter in load groups if I'm not mistaken. Load groups, load. Okay, slash names. Okay, back up. Okay. I'm not going to call this NRPS. I'm not going to call it groups either. I'll call it LTI groups. Yes, because groups is just too generic of a word. Okay. Okay, so we're calling load groups in context, which is right here, and then we're calling get groups token in here, and I feel like this is, it's really just getting a token that's that token right there. And then the next thing we want to do is say load groups, so we need to add another method, load name and roles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say mark, we're going to grab all this stuff. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. We're going to have to hack this a lot more. Okay, so we're going to duplicate that, and then if we can get them from the LMS, this is going to be context groups URL. The access token will be the access token, and here we are in context. We're getting the access token, and then we're passing it in, but this has got to be groups access token, and this has got to be LTI13 context groups URL. Okay. Okay. So at this point, like, we've done the access token stuff, but we kind of don't know what the format of this, like at some point this service return thing. We got some paging code here. We'll fix that media type thing in a bit. Looks like there was a bug in the LTI certification that I had to hack. I mean, the certification. Don't get me ranting, okay, on the crappy code that we've had to deal with. in the certification over the years. It's just been crappy, and I'm sure it's going to stay crappy. Okay, context URL, get the headers. Oops. Membership URL. Like I would tell them about the mistake in the certification suite, and they just wouldn't fix it. Okay, so we fixed all that. So there's some paging that goes on, and that paging turned out to be pretty tricky, because different LMSs do the paging differently, and you just have to use the code and then blow up and then ask people and go like, oh, that's different. So that's not good. Okay, so let's just go through here and this might be this group's string. LTI groups. Yeah, parse headers. I'm gonna guess what's membership. What the hell is membership? I think that's going to be okay, let's just look at the rosters. Let's look for the word roster. This is mostly going to be in error messages. Okay, so let's see if there's any. Okay. Okay, let's fix this media type memberships. And that's going to be in, is that in here? Oh, we're in the LTI 1.3 util. So let's go up to the top and go to media type. Media type membership, on line items, let's go media type groups. And let's go where this media type groups. Now this is the response that we're talking about. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go back and fix this. That may take us a while. No, go back. The context, the request should be sent to the context group with an accept header value of application VND, that thingy bob right there. Oh, the period is just part of the sentence. Okay, so now I gotta go to load groups. Where was I? Load groups. I should have changed the name of this to be groups. So that's good. And media type memberships is now media type groups. I'll remove this snide comment about certification. I'm sure I just did fix that media type. So media type groups. So that means we're going to request a response of type, you know, context group container, which is this thing. Okay, and so now, yeah. So, you know, I don't know, by just adjusting code from names and roles, I have probably a pretty good thing. But the problem is that my code in the LTI servlet doesn't return anything. I mean, I just like ripped out. This is a massive amount of code. So this is just going to hit this print statement and then return me crap. But I can see that print statement in my Sakai tail. So I don't know. I think I might have gotten most of what I need in Tsugi to get at least the token, the access token. I mean, it's really right here. It's this load groups, getting the access token, and then loading the groups from the URL. Okay, so that, if I do it right, I should now be able to see how quick this goes. I just know a lot of stuff, right? Okay, so I'm going to relaunch to get myself a new version of the Tsugi thing, and then when I hit this groups, it's going to go there and it's going to run something. Oh, unable to load groups. Calling LTI context and load names and roles. Unable to load. Well, that certainly is a bad. The word groups in there. It's in groups.php. That's just an error. That's just text. Okay. Okay, it couldn't work. It didn't work, but it, you know, it wasn't going to work. Oh, wait a sec. Let's just see if it happened to come all the way into Sakai. That doesn't look like it made it into Sakai. Okay, so if I hit this NRPS and clear my Sakai thing, I would hit this groups, right? Kablamo. And it did not print this message. So I don't think it hit that URL at all. So now what that's cool is I got this debug log. Missing context group. Oh yeah, missing context groups URL. My own error message. My own internal library was complaining. So yeah, so I gotta do this thing here. Where is that missing context groups URL? Is it here? Yeah, that's it. It was trying to get this LTI parameter. Okay, so now we got to dig a little deeper into the world of Tsugi. And I'm going to do that by looking for the LTI membership URL. And that, I think, is in LTIX.php. And this is the code that does all the magic of receiving the Java Web Token. So like this Java Web Token comes in, and all these claims are here, and all the security happens. And we're not going to have to do too much stuff here. But at some point, this names and roles service, do we have? No. NRPS. Where do I find this? Okay, well, let's find out where this, I'm using a constant, that's my problem. Grep minus R. So where in my whole frickin' source tree do I parse this claim? That's what I'm doing. This claim is already supported in there, and it's got this context membership URL, and it's got service versions. Sure. Okay, so that's in LTI constant names and roles claim. So I got to go in here, names and roles claim. This is the PHP. Remember, I did this in Java already. Names and roles claim. Now what I need to do is I need to add groups claim. So now I'm parsing the launch message, and groups claim is ski doodle ski bitty 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 bitty. Where was the groups claim? This is the claim. Is that the groups claim? Let's line this up so it looks a little prettier. Yeah, that looks like the groups claim. But let's remember that that's just the outer claim. So we're gonna, when we get to the point where we are editing in LTI 1.3 names and no. So now we're going into, I bet we're gonna go into here and look for a names and roles claim. There we go. Okay, so this is where in Tsugi I am parsing this launch JWT data, this stuff here, and extracting the pieces I want and putting it basically in a key value array. So I'm going to say what did I call that thing? LTI, no, I want it to be groups. Context groups, wait, what did I call that guy? Ooh, I'm gonna call that, so the parameter that I'm gonna use, this is just a parameter that I use inside, and I'm gonna call this the LTI 1.3 context groups URL. And so we need to, when we LTI 1.3 context groups, I'll get the, oops. So we're not only grabbing the claim, but we're pulling the relevant and more important data out of the claim. Get the groups claim. It's more accurate to say get data from the groups claim. Okay. Well, C13 space groups. Okay, so that is going to give me, after the parse Java Web Token, context memberships URL, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for context groups URL. Context groups URL is set context groups URL, and is a string context groups URL, and then this is going to be context groups URL, and this is going to be the internal key for this LTI 1.3 membership URL. Okay, and then it's doing a check to see about the service versions, and we're going to check to see if we got a service version 1.0. So this basically is saying, do we have a context groups URL? Is it a string? Do we have a service version that's a string, and is it 1.0? And if that's all true, then in my internal key value LTI data that I can access in the launch, it turns into a PHP object launch LTI parameter context group URL. So what we saw in this code right here was I couldn't find context group URL in my launch data. And so now what I'm doing is I'm adding to this LTIX bit context groups URL. The parsing, the extracting of the context groups URL from the Java Web Token. Boom. Well, we're going to ultimately, I'm just going to ask for this. I mean, I don't really care about the scope per se, because I know that I'm going to ask for that scope. Once I have this URL, I'm going to say, hey, can I have this scope? And it might say you can have the scope, but I don't see any reason. I could look for that, but I don't know why I would remember I even saw it. Who cares? I need the URL, and I will ask for the scope. I've already got that code working. Asking for the scope, right? Let me see what the chat's doing. We're 41 minutes in. I should probably check the chat. Nobody's in chat. Nobody's watching. That's okay. This is about... okay, so now I got all this stuff changed in LTIX. I can do a get status and I can see what is changed inside Tsugi. I changed the context object, the LTI13, which is the util, which is the low-level non-Tsugi stuff. Tsugi util LTI13 PHP is a NUC, whereas LTIX and context are like Tsugi objects backed by Tsugi database models. But I think I've got most of that, but we might have a syntax error, and so I'm just going to hit refresh on this page. Go into groups, enable, let's look at debug log. Missing context groups URL, how can that be? Rawr! I am in the right spot. Yeah, okay, and PWD, I'm in the right spot. I am in the right spot. Okay. Okay, so why, oh why did I not get LTI13 context groups URL why? I mean, I just couldn't find it, but I just changed this code. PWD, I'm in the right folder. No. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Simple mistake. Forgot to edit everything. I was so confident. I was so sure of myself. Okay. Let's see if the magic happens. Hit refresh. Boom, groups. Debug log. Missing context groups URL. Now I'm really mad. Retval, LTI13 context groups URL. Context. Is it context memberships URL? Did I get that right? It's not context memberships URL. It's context groups URL. Where did I get that wrong? Oh no! Shit. I mean, damn. I mean, phooey. Look, I changed all this code by mistake, and in RPS, I just broke in RPS. So let's go ahead and fix this. I was editing the old code. Copy that. Context memberships. Context memberships. If I did a get diff, I'd have seen what I messed up. Ah! Sometimes VI messes with me. So now, names and roles is doing memberships, and the context groups is doing context groups. Let's just do a quick get diff while I'm here. Just to sanitize myself. Oh yeah, we got a Don't want any spacing, although in Tsugi I don't have any reviewers except myself, but still I want to make my oh, I screwed that up. Look, glad I checked that. In here this is supposed to be 2.0. I'd have broke that. That'd have been so bad. And this is version 1. The groups, for some reason, the spec is version 1. That's because names and roles, there was an earlier version of it, so that makes sense. So that's nice. Let's do a get def, just to kind of check to see. Okay, so here's this, and earlier I changed this code up here, but now it's not changed, so I restored it to where it was. So okay, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think I got that right. Let's just look around. Whoa, what file's that? 1.3. Yep, space at the end of the line, space at the end of the line. Okay, so let's relaunch and see if we got something. See if we got something. Hit reload. Check to see how the groups are working. Now, unable to load groups, it's still going to blow up. I just want the darn URL to be there. Grar! Grar! What am I doing wrong? Okay, this is when I get mad. And groups. I'm going to say die LTI 1.3 context groups URL because I'm just in a bad mood. When saying stuff doesn't work, do something crazy. Look at that. Look at that. Line 11222. Oh, look at that. Look at that right there. Oh, I'm just not my... Going after the wrong claim. Let's keep the die in there just for yucks. That's what I wanted to see. That's the groups URL, the groups context groups URL from the launch JWT. So now I can take the die out of here. Don't want to check stuck code base in. That'd be really bad. Now let's go see groups. Now that's okay. No, I'm mad now. And it still hasn't hit. It still hasn't hit that servlet yet. Now I'm mad. The context, and so if I look at the debug log, missing context groups URL. Now I'm angry. Okay. So we're here. LTI 1.3 context groups URL. It's not there. It's just not there. I'm confused. grep minus r. Well, let's not look at that one. Let's look at LTI-13 membership URL. Is there somewhere I'm copying something from one place to another that's not being done? Yeah, so there is. So I store all these things in the database. And maybe it's that code right there. So let's take a look. Yeah. Let's keep looking for I'm going to have to put it in the database, which means I'm going to have to do a data model change. So let's just do this. And this is an LTI. This is a Tsugi thing about this database where it's the launch data is kept. Membership. Member MEMBERSHIP. Context groups. That's what I'm using, right? Yeah. So what this does is this code sort of makes sure that the database is got this column, which I'll add in a second, this LTI-13 context groups URL. I can add it to database to the Tsugi data model. But then this row thing is so I'm going to do a little hack here. I'll come back and put this in the database because I got to change the model. But I think I will get myself, but we'll come back. That code will work when I change the database. But by copying it from the post data, so that first thing was pulling it in into the post data, and now it's going to go into the row data, and I think that when I'm calling this LTI parameter, this variable row is what it's looking at. So I got a feeling that this might work better. Groups. No, that's not so good. Well, I'm mad now, and so I'm going to bar dump row and then die. Out of 3. So it's not running, it's not getting to there. It's not getting to this place. Oh, look at that. LTI COntext Groups is not in row. Yes. Okay, so I gotta go find LTI 13 membership URL. Okay, I'm just gonna fix the data model. So let's go here. C dot LTI 13 context groups URL as LTI 13 context groups URL. So now I got to have it in the database. Is there another membership URL? Okay, so that's cool. Okay, now we got to go fix the data model. But that won't be hard. And let's take that to-do out and content groups, context groups. I got to be careful. I type too fast. ONTNT. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna just take this to-do out, and we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. So now I've got to go to a different place. So this is just how the data model works in Tsugi. Let's take a look at the database. Tsugi database. The LTI context is where we're at, and if I look at the structure, you'll see that this is the LTI 13 membership URL, and I need a new one here. But I have a way of doing this. I have my own data. So Tsugi doesn't use an ORM. I have my own database evolution thing that I built. Where am I at here? In Tsugi, I think this is an LTI. Well, find dot minus name database.php. I think that's it. So this is the definition of the this is all my SQL that starts things up. So this is the context table, and if we're building a new one, we're going to make context item context groups. I could sure use a pair programmer right now. Context groups URL. So that means, so this code runs when I'm installing a brand new Tsugi. But then I have to, it's a text field, so I remember that. And then I got to find LTI. Okay. So this is a place to add to make sure fields are present. So I'm going to grab this one. (2023-07-29). Adding context groups service. And so this is code right here is the upgrade code. So the upgrade, and this basically just checks to see if this value, if that column is in this table, it's down here. If the column is in this table, don't do anything. If it's not, add it with a type of text allowing null. And that just has to, oh, but it's not membership URL. Rawr! See, I need a drink of water. Hang on a sec. Okay, I'm going to come back and get a drink of water. Be right back. Here we are, back. Back. Okay. Context groups URL. Let's just see if I got that spelled right. Let's find it here a bunch of times. LTI COntext Groups URL. It's there right. It's there right. It's there right. It's there. It's there. It's there right. It's there right. There right. There right. I'm going to just for grep minus r content, because I make this typo a lot. I don't have that typo. How about we just look for content groups in case I screwed it up. Then we're going to do an ignore to see if I got that in uppercase. Okay, so now I have to go into this database. Let me do a get diff. Okay, that looks good. And I think cd LTI, I think I say PHP upgrade PHP. And that checks to see if find dot minus name. Oh. I think it's an admin. Is upgrade in here? Yeah, let's try PHP upgrade. So here's the thing. I can run this upgrade.php, but there's also a way inside the local Tsugi. Gotta log in and then go into the Tsugi administrator. So I can also do this upgrade process from within the Tsugi admin. And I mean, I happen to be in this py for e, so I'm editing Tsugi inside py for e. So now I can upgrade the database, and let's see if it adds those columns. Alter table, LTI context, add context groups. Yeah, that one's different. So let's go back in here and let's hit refresh and see if there is a new database field. So that means that this database code ought to work, and that select statement ought to work, and it ought to end up in the row, and it'll say vardum baro die yada 3, and then I'll take that out, and it should continue and run way better than it ran before. So this Tsugi code was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. So we'll reload. Look at that, it's dying. Yay, yada 3, that's a good sign that it got into this code. That means the database code works, that means whatever. And so now I'm going to take that die out and hit refresh on this and go into groups. Aha! Unable to parse returned groups JSON syntax error. Let's look at the debug log. And so that means that it was going to this, it was getting the token. It had a token. This is the token. I don't know, that's the Sakai token. That all worked. This is the token granting endpoint inside Sakai. And then we hit this. We hit the loading. That's the endpoint for the group service in Sakai. And we sent our token in as a header. Header. We accepted the right thing. We sent the group's request. and then it blew up. And that's because come on, tell me why it blew up. Let's do it again. Reload, hit the groups, close that guy, hit groups. Oh, handle group service site ID equals. So that means we have made it back into Sakai, and all of the security has been tested. And now all we have to do is make the JSON in Sakai. And that JSON in Sakai is media type context group set, not a group set, but a group context group. That's this. So now we have to go call in this code here in Java, in this LTI servlet, we're going to have to call a bunch of Sakai APIs and get all this data. Oh Lord. Oh wait, we did good. We did good. I was thinking we once again screwed up in LTI standards land and had an outer array, but we don't. So we have an outer object, we have an ID, and then we have a groups, and then we have an array. So this is nice stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to write a bunch of code inside of here and that'll be ugly code, and that's going to be nasty, to produce this data from Sakai. So we can take a look and this. So this is the handle names and roles, and we have got to this point in the groups, but I'm just going to give you a sample of how much work we still got to do. We got some work to do here. Paging, we got to have a print writer, and we're going to be calling the site API and the realm API and getting roles and not so much. But basically, and then we got to do the paging stuff. And now we're actually putting some data. This is the code to do names and roles. So we're putting this data out. We're adding it a thing. Round and round and round. Grip groups with member. That's nice. Huh. We might be able to steal some of that code. And eventually, we get all done and we pretty print that whole thing out and set the content type, and away we go. So we have probably 100 or 120 lines of code to write equal to that code right here. And that'll be painful because I got to grep a lot of code inside Sakai to figure out where the darn groups are hiding, and I mean I'll find it, and then I've got to serialize that to JSON here, and then what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to here in load groups in LTI 1.3, we haven't yet really parsed it smartly. And so this is where it's doing members. That will not be members because this is going to be this groups thing. So we got some work to do in this LTI 1.3 load groups code. We got that work to do also. And so we've been going for an hour and 9 minutes. That actually is making pretty good time. Tsugi yields quickly because it's PHP and you don't have to compile anything. You just edit it and refresh it. And I mean, I'm sitting here with a bunch of local mods that I'm not going to put into Tsugi's core tree first, because I sort of take my time on some of that stuff. I will probably, if I do a git status here, this is the Tsugi changes. I'll probably push the admin LTI database.php stuff. I'll push that earlier so that those people who run it could have their database up and running sooner, because this will be a non-uppers compatible. This will be a breaking change if you don't upgrade your database. And so I'll have to come up with a way to make it so that this can be a soft upgrade. I don't know how to, I'll think that through. First I'm going to get it worked, then I'll think about how to get it deployed into the real world without breaking things in Tsugi world. Maybe I'll put this new thing out in master, and I may put these two things like in a temporary branch that I run for a while for testing, and then notify people to get caught up. I don't know. That's just releasing Tsugi. So we've not done too bad. We're in a pretty good spot. We are at the point now where we've connected the security between a tool and Sakai. And all we've got to do is create this JSON in Sakai and then consume that JSON inside Tsugi, and then I'm pretty much done. So that's a good feeling to be pretty much done. So this is part 2, and been going for an hour or so. I need to take kind of a break, and it's late. It's 9:30, and so it's 9:30 on a Monday. So I'll probably go to the Tuesday core meeting, and we're doing a PMC meeting. We're going to talk about accounting. So I probably won't get back to this until Tuesday. Probably won't get back to this until Tuesday afternoon. But hey, I'm making good progress. I think that this will actually completely be done. Let's take a look again at this complete new spec, the course group service. I do have to do this. This will be trickier. This launch thing. This is the one thing. I don't like that, but there's this one really cool feature, course group.id, which is on the launch. It's a group substitution variable, and that's a nice feature. And when our assignments that are launching, where's Sakai here? Go to Sakai. We have these assignments that are group-based assignments. Like no, that's not a group assignment. I'm sure I had some groups. Rawr! Go to all my sites. Should give these things better names. Yeah, we have these assignments that are group assignments, and when the student launches it, I can tell the tool which group is being launched, and that's what this substitution. So that'll probably be that alone. This feature alone will probably be a part 4 on this. So part 3 will probably be producing the context groups container JSON right there and consuming that, and that'll go pretty. It'll be a lot of work, but it'll go smoothly. And then I've got to make this thing where I inform the tool when there's a group submission, which group is being submitted, which will be kind of awesome. That'll be just yet another interesting thing that'll be a lot of work on. That'll be more work on Tsugi's side than Sakai's side, although it's not easy on Sakai's side. To say we're in the middle of an assignment that's been assigned to 3 people. Nancy Drew is submitting the assignment for the whole group, and this is the group that she is submitting for, and so that will be the tricky thing for me to build. So at least 2 more parts to this streaming coding effort. But thanks for watching, and I think that I will sign off now. Cheers all.